All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight in to objectively unpack the really severe claims and allegations that came up in independent commentator Nick Shirley's recent interview on the Valuetainment platform. We're going to look strictly at the source material here, the direct claims, the reported numbers, and the specific individuals named in that broadcast. Now, our goal today isn't to validate or debunk anything, but to clearly map out the exact anatomy of the argument Shirley is making. That way, you can fully understand the specific allegations that are currently circulating out there in the political sphere.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll be exploring the Valuetainment interview, looking at the Quality Learning Center, the $250 million fraud subpoena, the accusations against Rep. Omar, and finally, Shirley's predicted outcomes.
Let's kick things right off with Section 1, exploring the Valuetainment interview.
To really set the stage for his allegations, Shirley details his, pretty persistent efforts to directly engage with Representative Ilhan Omar. He says on the broadcast that he actually visited her office twice. His intention? To hand-deliver a specifically themed hoodie, one labeled as an anti-fraud Taxpayer Club hoodie. But he claims she was MIA both times. Interestingly enough, he notes that he did get incredibly close to her sphere at the State of the Union address. He actually sat right in front of her guests. Yet despite that proximity, he says he never got the chance to speak with the representative herself.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Quality Learning Center.
According to Shirley, this facility is literally at the center of a massive controversy. He asserts that federal judges found enough hard evidence to grant search warrants, which ultimately led to full-blown federal raids on this specific center. But the source material takes this a whole step further. It moves from federal law enforcement actions directly onto the floor of the Minnesota State Legislature, where a highly contested vote over a funding ban took place. Now, this is a pretty wild detail the interview zeroes in on, a specific anomaly in the official state amendment text. Notice the spelling. The word learning was explicitly written out as L-E-A-R-I-N-G, leering. Shirley uses this exact typo to question the state's oversight entirely. He asks, why on earth would the state consider sending money to an entity that's spelled incorrectly on official documents? He alleges it might just be an empty building with absolutely no children inside. The source video then points to the actual vote on that amendment, the one that would have banned funding from going to the Learning Center, and the motion failed. Shirley points directly to the final tally, 32 ayes and 33 nays, as direct, undeniable evidence that Minnesota Democrats actively voted to block an amendment that would have stopped taxpayer funding from going to this raided facility.
Which brings us to Section 3, the $250 million fraud subpoena.
We are talking about a staggering scale of alleged fraud here. $250 million. The broadcast references a news segment claiming this massive amount was stolen in a COVID fraud scandal. And to really add emotional weight to this figure, the source emphasizes what this money was actually for. It was originally intended to feed hungry children during the height of the pandemic.
Now, the news clip played by Valuetainment introduces a major legal development involving Representative Omar. It alleges that investigators attempted to subpoena her communications, specifically looking for links between her and the convicted ringleader of this massive theft. However, and this is key, the report claims the subpoena was blocked because Representative Omar allegedly blew off a deadline to turn over the requested information, ultimately providing zero evidence regarding the fraud.
To really capture the public and political frustration surrounding all of this, the interview relies on a quote from Republican candidate Michelle Tafoya. She states she has not participated in this process at all so far. She has remained somewhat untouchable here in Minnesota. Shirley leverages this commentary to drive home his central thesis, that there's a severe, almost systemic lack of accountability for suspected wrongdoers in the state.
Let's pivot now to Section 4, accusations against Rep. Omar.
Here's where Shirley makes a highly specific and honestly drastic financial assertion. During the interview, he claims that Representative Omar's net worth suddenly plummeted from $30 million all the way down to just $100,000. Now, he doesn't actually provide the underlying documentation for this during the clip, but he presents this dramatic drop as obvious, glaring evidence of her guilt and complicity in these broader financial scandals we've been talking about. Next, Shirley attempts to connect the dots by mapping out a web of alleged associations. It's kind of like a giant puzzle he's laying out for the audience. He claims Omar is friends with a woman who runs a restaurant situated right in front of the raided Quality Learning Center.
And he doesn't stop there. He alleges this same associate owns daycares and has even appeared in videos with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. The narrative Shirley is actively trying to construct here is one of a tightly knit network of local politicians and business owners, all operating in very close proximity to the alleged fraud. All right, in order to provide a truly complete and neutral explainer of this source material, we absolutely must touch on Shirley's most severe personal allegation. He flat out asserts there is evidence that Representative Omar married her own brother. And he adds a logistical wrinkle to this claim too, stating his belief that the brother currently resides over in the United Kingdom, which Shirley suggests makes the whole situation even more legally complex. Finally, we reach Section 5, Shirley's predicted outcomes. Using Shirley's exact words from the transcript here, the interview firmly demands severe legal and immigration consequences. He doesn't mince words. He states bluntly, quote, "She needs to get prosecuted or she needs to get deported." This really highlights the uncompromising hardline stance the commentator is taking regarding the evidence he believes is mounting against her. Ultimately, Shirley predicts that Representative Omar has absolutely no viable path forward to continue business as usual. He firmly believes she'll either be forced to step down from Congress entirely or she'll face arrest. Now, the hosts do acknowledge that pushing this narrative disrupts the lives of the people involved, but they argue it's a necessary disruption because, in their view, tens of millions of people want to know exactly what is happening with their tax dollars. So, as we wrap up this explainer, we've clearly mapped out the claims originating from this valuetainment interview, from those 33 nay votes on a raided facility all the way to a blocked subpoena over $250 million. Whether these allegations lead to the dramatic outcomes Nick Shirley predicts or just fade away as political noise, well, that remains to be seen. But it leaves us with a vital question to ponder. How will this escalating friction between independent commentators aggressively pushing these narratives and the elected officials they target truly impact the real-world political landscape moving forward? Thanks so much for tuning in, and keep questioning the information that shapes our world.